Today, I'm unpacking the changes happening in the pedigree dog world, from government involvement and health assessments to fad breeding, and what all of this actually means for bulldogs and future puppy owners. Welcome to the Bulldog Owners Podcast, where I host a passionate conversation about pedigree dogs. I'm Sarah, and here we cut through the myths and misinformation to talk honestly about life with bulldogs. Right, because I'm a lady of many talents, or sometimes busy, I'm going to try and get back on the podcast, but I'm going to try and multitask and do all my podcasts while I'm walking the dogs, which is normally time that I'd rather spend listening to music, trying to ignore other people that want to talk to me while I'm walking the dogs, or listening to a podcast. So there will be traffic, just like that, if you heard that. There will be dogs barking, I will be talking, but hopefully you're all more than used to this if you already own a dog. So I'm Sarah, founder of the Bulldog Broadcast, which while I've been offline, I renamed the Bulldog Owners Club podcast because I thought in search terms that would actually be more beneficial than what it was called. Had a slight little rebrand, but basically the podcast remained unchanged. Maybe the intros, outros will change over a time, but for now, we'll keep life simple. As they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Why have I restarted this podcast after, can you believe it, over 18-month hiatus, which is crazy. And I've got a lot of different dogs now than when I first recorded, I guess, kind of series 1 of the podcast and their episodes. But why have I restarted? Well, firstly, because we've just hit a little milestone, which is 5,000 downloads, which I'm really happy with. And I'm going to do a little blog to celebrate that fact. But I think to have 5,000 downloads over 17 podcast episode is pretty awesome, given that it's just a little old podcast that doesn't have any major promo behind it. I am a nobody in the scheme of all the fabulous people that walk this planet. Just a person that likes bulldogs and decided to do a podcast about bulldogs. So obviously there's massive podcasts out there that probably get treble that number on just one episode. But when I worked it out, if I divided the number of downloads by the number of episodes, that was over 300 people that potentially have listened to every single episode. And I thought if I was to get 300 people in a room, that would be a pretty good party. So it was worth firing up the microphone again and carrying on the conversation around bulldogs. So sort of this is why I've powered it back up. And to be fair, a lot's gone on since I last recorded some podcast episodes. Personally, I've got a lot more dogs, I think. And I think 18 months ago, I don't think I had Pearl, who I'm walking now. I've also got Pearl's younger brother, King. I've also got a new puppy. I say got a new puppy. I've kept a puppy from my most recent litter called Bison. So, yeah, like the dog game has upped itself slightly for me, and there's a lot going on in the pedigree dog world that I think it's worth keeping everybody in the loop, because ultimately anyone that's looking for a puppy, it will impact you. Well, I'll say all the advice I've always given you is to help you find a healthy, decent bulldog puppy, and not to get scammed, not to get ripped off, and not to end up with a vet bill. But there's other more official channels that have decided that there should be more stronger interventions, and some of them are quite concerning. So let's start at the beginning. She says, well, we've got until I get home with the dog walks, so that's how I'm going to try and time these episodes, is that I will finish by the time I get home with hopefully 1, maybe 2 sets of dogs. So obviously I can't walk all my dogs at the same time, so sometimes it takes me three lots to do it, generally only walking 2 at a time. I'm not walking two numpty dogs together. So I can't walk Pearl and King together anymore because they play fight all the way around. I look ridiculous. They don't pay any attention to me apart from have fun, which obviously isn't responsible dog ownership. Hopefully also, I always find when I walk and talk, I can get out of breath. So hopefully I'm not panting too much down this. And obviously anybody that can see me talking to myself, hopefully just thinks I'm on a call to somebody. So yeah, it's okay. Winner, chicken dinner. So what has gone on, or what's the most recent concern that's impacting pedigree dogs? The wider world of pedigree dogs, and obviously Bulldogs are one of those. Now, literally just before Christmas, as a diversion tactic, a bit like the Brooklyn Beckham stuff, the DEFRA made an announcement literally just before Christmas. So most people obviously were full on Christmas mode, saying we're gonna change loads of stuff. We're gonna start next year. Basically, we're gonna start running some consultations and getting some groups together, because there needs to be a shake-up. Now, DEFRA is basically the government's overseeing of originally agriculture and farming, and has crept into dog breeding from a welfare point of view. Now, I've always argued quite strongly that the current dog breeding license basically has such a strong commercial element that it just basically greenlights puppy farmers, and it makes anyone that's a home breeder, so anyone that breeds their dogs at home, actually quite difficult, because you have to start over a certain number of dogs. They want you to apply for a change of use for your property, and obviously it's not going to get green lighted. Neighbours not going to want that. Yeah, just some ridiculous rules around you're not allowed carpet, and every dog has to have their own bed, which anyone that already owns multiple dogs will know they all pile into one bed, no matter how many you get out for them. So basically, it's discouraged some people from breeding, but also applying, because it's basically not fit for function. Anyway, they kind of know this, and obviously they get involved from a welfare point of view. So they're trying to say, we want to make sure that all dogs have enrichment, have water available, fed, clean and tidy, which if there was a dog in your house, you kind of hope that that's a given. And it's just crazy that the whole scheme will like literally greenlight someone keeping like 100 females in a warehouse that never lives in a house, never walks to the shops, never goes to the park, like just never experienced anything of normal life. Yet they're totally green lighted, that apparently they're breeding okay puppies. And obviously this is just a welfare point of view. So it doesn't consider, it's limited on the health that it considers, and it doesn't consider temperament of the dog or the construction type of the dog. As in, if it's meant to be a certain breed, has it got characteristics of that breed? Yeah, there's plenty selling it, but I won't bore you with it. The interesting thing was, of this update that they gave, remember in their agriculture, they deal with everything, farming, exotic animals, anything and everything. Of this update, it was literally like 80% domestic dogs that they were concerned about, which I just don't think they're the right people to be getting involved, because the council just have to take on board their policies and they don't know how to apply them, and then it actually becomes a grey murky area. But anyway, just before that happened, there was a big announcement by obviously I'm not on my computer, otherwise I'll look these things up, but I think it was like the APAWG group, basically a political party that basically said we're horrified at the current state of dog breeding and the status of domestic animals, and that they're needing too much veterinary care. Obviously, there's a whole nother consultation going on about investigation into veterinary prices, but we'll cover that another day. But what happened, from what I observed, is that everyone was going about their life to a degree. Pandemic happened. Everyone decided that they wanted a puppy. Now was the time to get a puppy, which means that anyone that owned a dog with a uterus thought it might be a good idea to breed it, knowing absolutely nothing about dog breeding. Bred dogs. Some people thought, oh, this is a good way to earn a bit of money. Some people only done it once or twice, and that was it. But basically, there was a massive implosion of puppies bred by people that didn't really know what they're doing. Most people that breed their family pet, and I say that in a positive way, is that regardless of the breed or whatever, is normally because they think she's got an amazing temperament and they want to continue that amazing temperament. They don't always know about health. They don't always know about structure, conformation, breed type, that kind of thing. I mean, the good thing about that is that the diversity of the gene pool increases, but then also people might end up with poorly bred puppies, even with the best intention of them being reared right as adults. They have quite serious health concerns. So Bulldogs are hard to breed, like full stop. They're one of the most difficult dogs to breed because they are such high intensive for the first 4 weeks of their life compared to the majority of other breeds. It's just how it is. Some people don't like that fact. Some people will argue that fact. Some people say that's a fact why they shouldn't exist in the first place. And for other people, they see that as a challenge. People like me, you see that as a challenge about the breed, and that actually doesn't matter how hard a dog is to rear, you can overcome it and still breed decent dogs. So to me, it's just a litmus test of how good of a dog breeder you are or not. So because of that, that's how their price initially was always higher than the bog standard pedigree dog. Go on, going into some detail here, aren't I? I'm not going to be able to fit it all in by the time I get home. But then pandemic happened and people realised, oh, if I just breed a dog with a fancy colour, because that's, as a novice, that's the easiest way for me to know how this dog is different to somebody else's. And I pick a rare colour and I convince people through clever marketing that this is the dog that everybody should have, then I can mark my money up because it's a rare dog. So as we all know, the fancy colours, which in Bulldogs, black was naturally occurring, but not encouraged to be bred from. But you can get dilutes of that, blues, you've got lilacs and chocolates got introduced. Then you've got males, tan points, tri-points, all the things basically. Majority of which are not naturally occurring, especially if they're male. Anyway, people thought this was great. A load of stuff got imported from America, which is a totally different type. So that just happened to coincide at the right time of the pandemic. And then also people had a bit extra money in their pockets because of these government payouts, blah, blah, blah. But as I said, typically ends up with people not knowing what they're breeding. Anyone that is new to breeding, you breed your first female, you haven't got a clue. As much as you can do all the health testing still, most of the fancy colours aren't health tested, but even if you've done all the health testing, as I said, you haven't got a clue of lineage, bloodlines, problems. You don't even know for yourself what's actually out there and lurking because you've only ever had one dog that you're breeding from. So obviously, the onset of this is that vets saw an explosion of problems in their veterinary practice, and obviously I'd always argue they only see the ill ones anyway, so that's a little bit frustrating. Plus then getting a little bit trigger happy with their treatments, which of yesteryear would be given some painkillers and wait, or do this and wait. Now they get surgery happy because they know the dog's insured. And equally, I think this is fueled by owners, because you know your dog's insured. You think, let's not muck about, let's go and do the most drastic form of getting the dog fixed as possible. So from both perspectives, I think it's terrible, which is why I don't have any of my dogs insured. But anyway, this working party has come together and basically said the state of dogs are shocking, and they basically released this app. You can go on their website called the Innate Health Assessment, and it's the breeders, and say breeder is anyone that owns a dog that's bred one litter. Much as they don't like the word, you are a breeder, so you have responsibilities that come with that, whether you like it or not. can't play the naive game of, my girl's just okay, I can't believe you got that problem. Sorry, that don't cut it nowadays. But basically they're saying anyone that's looking for a puppy, you should consider these things. And anyone that breeds, you should consider these things. And it's like 10 or 12 things, again, not my PC, but it's 10 or 12 things you should consider. Bulldog people have been under health pressures for years, decades, probably now, about breeding healthy dogs. And trust me, any show breeder, they have the healthiest dogs going. And if I was looking for a dog now, I wouldn't even entertain buying one from anyone apart from someone that actually not only reads the breed standard, which is the blueprint of what the breed is, but can articulate it back to me of why they're doing the breeding they're doing with the breed standard in mind. Otherwise, again, you're potentially wasting thousands of pounds. I mean, it's literally like getting a mechanic to look at your car and they don't even know like the bare basics of a component of an engine. Like, it's scary. Just because you can drive a car doesn't mean that you can be a mechanic, charge people money for trying to fix a car. But anyway, this is basically sent the Kennel Club world into a frenzy because the things that are listed on there are actually things that are written into some people's breed standards. So it says, like, you shouldn't buy a dog. You shouldn't be breeding from a dog that's got a short face. Obviously, a bulldog has. You shouldn't buy a dog or parents that have been bred of or whatever that's got male coat pattern. Now, I agree with that with bulldogs. It's not naturally occurring colour in the breed. However, in some breeds, it is naturally occurring, so that's a stupid thing to say. Now, the thing with male is you can't breed male to male because you're likely to get blindness, deafness, all these kind of things. So it's a coat colour. Even if it was a breed that was accepted that I liked, I wouldn't be interested in, because I think it weird. Any dog that can't be bred to the same of its kind just seems a bit weird. But anyway, people that have male naturally occurring in their breed are freaking out. Then it talks about basically he's trying to reduce all the extremities. So no short legs. So anyone that's got a Dachshund, a Scotty dog, West Highland Terrier, there's lots of dogs they're saying they shouldn't be bred from. Any dog that doesn't have a tail. Yet some breeds have naturally short tails, Bulldogs being one of them. All this crazy criteria about bulging eyes. I think there's a thing about teeth, quite a lot basically. So all the Kennel Club people, anyone that breeds pedigree dogs, preservation breeders or legacy breeders, are having a mini meltdown. Now, the Bulldog people, the French Bulldog people generally aren't, because we've been under this pressure for years. However, I agree with the sentiment, because the problem is, basically what they're saying is they want this assessment, the IHA assessment, that anyone that's a registered breeder, they will have to fulfill the assessment, and that they shouldn't be breeding any dogs that fail it. I literally stuck Pearl through it. I would say my show bitch at the moment, the girl I'm showing, and she would fail it, which is laughable because she's silver health tested. And if she was 2 years old, she was smash gold, no doubt about it. So, and what they've done is they're dumbing down breeding. They've dumbed it down so much, mainly to try and capture the crossbreeds, cockapoos, cavapoos, all this kind of stuff, because they don't have breed standards, because they're crossbred dogs. So people are getting their knickers in a twist, which is a good thing, because it's forcing the Kennel Club, who had originally been part of the working group of this crazy scheme, to stand up and go, no, we don't actually believe that this is the right way to tackle the problem that you're saying exists. Plus, the Kennel Club have decades of data, like pretty much all the hips and elbows, eye testing, heart testing. It's crazy. They're literally just ignoring that and just saying, just look at this tick box and work out whether your dog should be bred from or not. They're dumbing it down too much, in my opinion, to try and capture everybody. But the problem is, if this gets through the door for licensed breeders, and DEFRA is already saying we're looking into stuff, and to a degree, I do agree, if it was the right scheme, that anyone that breeds a dog, whether it's 1 litre, 10,000 litres, have to apply for this scheme, and that it's tiered And so the severity of the criteria that you need to meet increases with the impact you're having on the market, which is the amount of puppies you're producing. Then I think, okay, that's a scheme that's worth considering. But with this IHA, once they've got it in as it's current, how do you know it's not going to spread and then be enforced on everything all of the time? And then if that's the case, we're going to lose pedigree dogs, like they will stop existing, which I tell you now, nothing will stop me breeding my dogs as I do. I don't care whether they're Kennel Club registered or not, but there are a lot of more conscious people out there that just get petrified at not conforming to as they always have done. And so there's no doubt about it, we will be losing diversity in dogs. And the whole point of us having diversity in dogs is because we all have different lifestyles, don't we? So not all of us want the generic Labrador or Dalmatian that can run for miles and miles and wants to learn and needs training and stimulants. Like Bulldogs, the world's away from that for a reason. And that's why they're so popular, because they don't have those requirements. They're happy to chill on the sofa with you. They get their enrichment from just loving you and you loving them back. Totally different type of dog. Yeah, every dog should want exercising, eat, can eat properly, have a good, healthy life. And there are Bulldogs out there that have been bred poorly, but we shouldn't all be treated with the same sentiment, I suppose, is that people should be acknowledged for their experience of what they know and don't know, and then should have regulations that actually feed into that. So it just seems crazy how I would have to conform to something when I'm over 30 years into someone that's never bred a litter before. It's just crazy. So it's all kicking off, is what I'm trying to say. And how does it impact you? Well, I actually think in the short term, all of this is going to put off some people breeding. It already has done. So getting hold of a quality dog will become harder. But then hopefully the quality increases to match that. So that's good. But you're always going to have the people that just ignore everything and plough on regardless. And it's going to seem like an absolute bargain of a dog to have. And it's not a bargain. It's just because they've never read a breed standard to know what they should or shouldn't be doing. So obviously we don't want the Bulldog to disappear. And this will be a slow change. So don't, everyone's freaking out as if it's going to be immediate. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a sliding scale over years, but it's still scary that people that have worked really hard to increase a segment of the breed are never actually rewarded or recognised for that. We're all still treated as a generic band of bad breeds, I suppose. So go and look it up. IHA, do a little Google, you'll see the criterias. And as I say, if you know nothing about nothing, you'll be able to understand what they're trying to say, because that's how they simplified it. But that's a big update on what's been going on and what's quite a concern to people that have been in the breed a long time and still want to have the breed for a very long time still. So that's it. I'm back home. I need to wipe the dogs down because it's been raining. Hopefully this is still recording. We'll soon find out. And hopefully you'll be back to listen to another episode. So I'll let you know when that is. Before you go, head over to bulldogownersclub.com if you fancy a bit of support with your dog, help finding a puppy, or joining one of our fortnightly informal chatty community calls.